Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Remember, our troops abroad and their families here at home. And as everyone knows, since our last council meeting, the passing of Council President Brian McGovern's wife, Jane McGovern. Thank you. Would the council please join me off the dais? So it's the beginning of the month. So as everyone knows, every month we do Employee of the Month. Last month was Nancy Murray. You may have seen her picture up on the big screen on 35 for a while. And this month, we're starting to get into the season. You're going to see more and more of our men and women from DPW out there, really all men, I guess, from DPW out there making the town beautiful for the summer. Did an amazing job over the winter. So we're going to honor one of their employees with the Employee of the Month. Does a remarkable job every day, and that's John Surgeon. Now I just want to ask Director Campbell to come up and say a few words about John. Director Campbell works with him every day, knows his talents, doing a remarkable job for us in the water department. And go ahead, Mike, do you want to talk?
Surely. John came with us as a laborer, and we quickly moved him over to the water department as we are trying to progress in the water department, get more professional, more help out there. Joe Romer just wasn't doing it, obviously, enough on his own. It was too much for one person. So we brought John over, and under Joe's tutelage, he's been really picking up very well. He can do anything that now has to be done, changing meters, brakes, turning on water, off water. We're so impressed with him, we're actually sending him to school in September. He's going to get his water license, and he's going to be, it's a 2-year process in school, and we're going to have our own, right now we only have a part-time water official, but he's going to be our full-time. We plan on him being here 30 years. Or more. And again, I couldn't be more pleased with John and his progress. He just does everything he's supposed to. He's super polite to people. He's from town, enjoys Belmar. I've known him since he's been a boy growing up. He was actually best friends with the boy growing up right next door to me. So I've known him since he's been very little. And I'm very pleased and very proud of him.
I also knew John growing up, played recreation basketball, but my conversation just happened the other day. John came out to the island with me to oil the goose eggs that are out there. John was my umbrella man, okay? He was to fend off the geese as I oiled the eggs. He let one get by me, right? I'm down oiling the egg, and here she comes around the umbrella. But he did react, and I didn't get bit or anything like that. So John, you may go to water training, but we need more training out there with the umbrella.
Brian, that wasn't his fault. I gave him $20 to let him go.
If anyone in the public would ever like to oil eggs with Council President, just give him a call. He'd love to have you come out.
You can be my umbrella person.
And also, when you talk to Colleen Conley, our DA, or Mike, our director, they talk about their guys, and they have a great camaraderie. And they also have some interesting names for people. So John's nickname is LBJ. Now when I say to you, LBJ, you think Lyndon Baines Johnson, right? But instead, it stands for Little Big John. Which is even more bizarre. You're like, well, what the heck is Little Big John? So they have a great group. Mike does a remarkable job. We have our DPW guys here. Let's hear it for them, please. So you get $100 to spend anywhere in Belmar. You'll see a lunch with me. Pretty exciting.
That's your punishment for that goose getting to it.
You get a hat, and again, most importantly, you get your face up on Route 35. For all the ladies to see as they come driving. So you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to you and Mike and Colleen, obviously, and the council. And I'm just grateful to work in the town that I live in, for people in the town, and I'm just very grateful for that. And I'm happy that I get to do what I want to do every day, come to work in the town that I love. Thank you.
Should we still come back? And gentlemen, we know it's Cinco de Mayo, so you don't have to stick around. We understand. Cold beer and drink. Next, I want to bring up someone you guys probably already know. Has a music studio here in town, does a remarkable job. I want to bring him up next before I read the proclamation, but Danny White can come on up front. Let's hear it for Danny. Here's our proclamation for Danny. Whereas Danny White is the owner of Beacon Music Studios located in the heart of Belmar, New Jersey, and whereas Danny White is invested in the Belmar community and deeply invested in making life better for our residents through music and art, and whereas Danny White has volunteered at countless events for both Belmar Recreation Department and senior programs, whereas Danny White held a fundraiser for Home by Summer on March 14, 2015 at the Belmar Fishing Club, raising over $5,000. Whereas Danny White is very committed to helping our community, which the Belmar Mayor and Council and residents of Belmar truly appreciate. Now, therefore, be resolved, the Mayor and Council and all the residents of the Borough of Belmar hereby honor Danny White, and be it further resolved that the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Belmar thank Danny White for keeping Belmar cool.
I would like to say, you don't want that right now. I would like to say that unnecessary but very appreciated. Thank you all. And I want to thank my band, who also donated their time on this night for our Home by Summer. I want to thank my wife here, Carrie, who also donated her time that night and rallied a bunch of troops to come down, the fishing club that night for donating the building, and to Matt for coming up with just a great idea, the Home by Summer campaign. If you can't get behind that, you know, in a great community like this to help out two of our own, then, you know, you shouldn't get behind anything. But that's all I want to say. Thank you. Thanks for doing a great job.
I noticed in the room there's two musicians. They're both wearing black shoes, blue pants on, black shirt. There's something different about these two musicians.
Both very handsome.
Yeah, they just play different music with their hair and... Sorry. All right.
Tom was there jamming that night.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
But thank you. Let's hear for Danny White. And I'd also like to bring up another person who did a great fundraiser for us, and that's Michelle DiCarlo. Michelle owns DiCarlo Fitness, which is on 10th Avenue in Belmar, right by Santander Bank. Honoring Michelle DiCarlo. Whereas Michelle DiCarlo is the owner of DiCarlo Fitness, located at 710 10th Avenue in Belmar. And whereas Michelle DiCarlo was raised at the Jersey Shore and has been had a passion for fitness, wellness, and sports all of her life. Whereas Michelle DiCarlo has volunteered countless hours of Zumba, and fitness to both Belmar recreation programs and senior programs. Whereas Michelle DiCarlo held a fundraiser for Home by Summer on April 11, 2015, where Matt Doherty Zumba and Brian McGovern made his daughter Zumba. Whereas Michelle DiCarlo was very committed, I just added that, it's made up. Whereas Michelle DiCarlo was very committed to helping our community, which the Belmar Mayor and Council and the residents of Belmar truly appreciate. Now therefore be resolved by the Mayor and Council of all the residents of Belmar, honoring Michelle DiCarlo, DiCarlo Fitness, and be it further resolved that the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Belmar thank Michelle DiCarlo for keeping Belmar fit. So yes, so we had a big Zumba outing. It was Michelle,
Sarah, Carolina.
yeah, all of her instructors, 70 other women, me,
A bunch of kids.
Brian McGovern standing in the background, who really wouldn't.
I sent my granddaughter for my wedding.
And a bunch of kids,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So you would say that I was pretty brave being out
He
there.
was very brave.
But you encourage everyone else to do Zumba as well.
Absolutely. Yes, and guys don't have to be afraid of Zumba, because if Matt can do it, anybody can.
She's absolutely right. This cocky looking thing can do it. But you want to say a few words?
I'm just very honored to be a part of Belmar, and I'm very honored to have Jen Nicolay, Councilwoman, on the DiCarlo Fitness team. And the town has just been so wonderful and so welcoming, and I'm very blessed that you were a part of it and made it really fun. I think people really just came to see Matt dance. They didn't really come for me. But yeah, it's just been a wonderful experience, and I'm always willing to help out the town anytime you guys need it. So thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear from Michelle.
Next is municipal clerk speak, which you can probably read from that.
Yes, we'll go back up on the days.
Thank you. Checks.
Yeah. I have a proclamation to read. Doing a lot of reading today. This is a resolution recognizing Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the municipal clerk is a professional who provides continuity in government from administration to administration, seeing to it that the business of local government continues uninterrupted while providing experienced and dedicated public service to the governing body, colleagues, and residents. And whereas the functions of a municipal clerk necessitate a thorough knowledge of law procedures, administration, and interpersonal relations, and whereas the municipal clerk has core duties prescribed by state statute, including but not limited to: 1, acting as secretary of the municipal corporation; 2, acting as secretary of the governing body; 3, serving as chief administrative officer in all elections; 4, serving as chief registrar of voters in the municipality; 5, serving as the administrative officer responsible for accepting and issuing various licenses and permits; 6, serving as coordinator and records manager; and 7, performing other such duties as are imposed by statute, regulation of municipal ordinance, or resolution. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Belmar that while recognizing the importance of its role and functions of the municipal clerk's office and the impact it has on the public, that it salutes its municipal clerk, April Claudio, for her dedication and commitment to Belmar's local government, and be it further resolved that the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Belmar recognize all of New Jersey's municipal clerks and their staff members for their service to the respective local governments, and calls upon other communities to join them in recognizing their municipal clerks and staff members during the week of Municipal Clerks Week, May 3rd and May 9th, 2015. Let's hear for it. Now, of course, in Belmar, April also has code. What else does she do?
Zoning.
Zoning, planning, She went on a tremendous amount of work on April, and she does a great job, so thank you. We'll work to recognition. Next is public bid. Colleen will put the microphone back in the middle. This is open public bid for a beach sports camp in Belmar for the 2015 season. Does anyone like to bid on the beach sports camp for this year? Yes, sir. Just come on forward.
Yes, hi.
Just your name and the name of your business for the record.
At Albany's, and it's Beach Sports and Fun Camp.
All right.
Okay.
The minimum bid is $500. Would you like to bid the minimum bid?
Actually, I was coming just to bid on the current lease that we had the past 5 years with the camp. I was told about $500 a few weeks ago in advance, and I talked with my partner about it, talked with a few people. It was a situation where we weren't going to bid based on the need and based on feedback we've been getting by demand. It was a situation that was tough because I've been putting my heart into it for 5 years, and so was my partner. We used to run a few weeks. Partner had an unfortunate thing with his daughter. We've been condensed it to 2 weeks, and now we were looking to do 1 week in the summer. But we turned over a small profit. It wasn't about profits for us. It was about getting kids out there and exercising. So I was coming to bid on the current lease, which was maximum number of scholarship people. And I know that I was told that scholarship wasn't enough for this current bid based on what we had 5 years ago. But I just wanted to say we have accepted scholarship people, many in each camp that we've done over the past few years. And again, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for people telling me to please bid on the camp and don't leave based on your current lease. So I came on their behalf. And again, we've had good standing within the community. It's what we do best with the kids. And again, it wasn't started for profit reasons. It was started just to get kids out there and having fun, because we had fun with them in the evenings. There wasn't much going on in the evenings in Belmar to keep kids active, and this was how we started it. We love what we do. And like I said, it was by the demand of people that who've been coming every for 5 years who really want this to happen. So that's why I kind of came on their behalf too.
Okay. So would you like to bid the minimum amount of $500?
No, I'm holding.
Okay.
I'm here just based on the current lease, I was here for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to respond to what I heard Mr. Albany saying, it sounds more like the structure of the campus changed over time.
Yeah.
And so what I would like to offer is, if you'd like to get my information after this meeting, it could be a special events application is more appropriate to what you're looking to do.
I think
So we can talk about that separately.
great.
Okay?
If there's any time also, just pick up my daughter in about 25 minutes. At this time, anytime.
Let me check back the room in a second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else want to bid on the beach sports camp? I don't see anyone else want to bid. Tom Volker, you want to bid on this? All right, next, workshop discussion. Only item we have on workshop discussion is going to be pedestrian safety. And tonight, we have one of the committee members on the pedestrian safety committee, and that's Tom Burke, who's going to come up and give us an update as to where they are and where he sees this going in the future. So, Mr. Burke, would you like to come up to the microphone, address the council, please? Thank you, sir.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it. The agenda says that I'm here to talk about pedestrian safety. In fact, it's bicycle and pedestrian safety.
It should say it.
Okay. I want to make that clear. And we also have in front of you tonight, and one of the reasons I think it's important to come up here, is a resolution calling for the adoption of a complete streets policy. That may sound different from pedestrian and bicycle safety, but complete street policy is something that is developed nationally. It was adopted in the state of New Jersey in 2009. There's a complete streets policy was adopted in Monmouth County in 2010. There's a complete streets policy. And what this complete streets policy will do, the resolution that you have in front of you, I'll get my glasses out here so I get this right, will formalize our community's intent to plan, design, operate, and maintain streets.
Can I interrupt you 1 second? April, can you just check to make sure his microphone's working? Because I think there's some folks that can't hear you.
So I need to speak into it then.
Yes.
I think the Complete Streets policy will formalize our community's intent to plan, design, operate, and maintain streets that are safe for all users, all ages, and all abilities. The New Jersey Complete Streets project makes it clear that bicyclists, pedestrians, and other roadway users are to be accommodated by default rather than exception, which will greatly increase the safety. I paused at those two things because I think it's important. By default, this project is designed to, as we design new streets, retrofit existing streets, is to take into consideration both pedestrians, bicycles, all users, whether they be wheelchair users, skateboard users, rollerblade users, we're all important. Now, why did we choose to go with the Complete Streets policy with our committee? We were aware of this when we first started our work in the early part of this year, but we found very early into the game that if we're going to get funding, and we know there's no funds in Belmar to support some of these projects, and that's not a criticism, it's just a fact, that we were going to have to tie into some of the other resources. The New Jersey Department of Transportation has a local aid program that we can tap into, and the New Jersey Transportation Planning Authority, which operates out of Newark, has over $2 billion of funds that are available for transportation improvement strategies. And that's sort of why we're leading in that direction. We've been evaluating some of the needs that we see around the community, categorize them probably as things that we can do in a more immediate nature, things that we can do maybe over the course of the next year or so, and some things that may take us 3 or 5 years. So that when you get our final recommendation, you probably see it presented in that format, a short-term plan, a more intermediate and more long-range plan for what we envision. Present time, we're sort of in a design flow where it goes up and down. When we met with the county engineers, with some of the proposals, some of the things we wanted to do on Oakland Avenue, we were up here with our plans, and after the meeting, we were going down here because they said they had some reservations on what we were suggesting. We've gone back to the drawing boards and do some more research because we think what we want to do is a viable option. That's sort of where we're at. I would be glad to get into any specifics if anybody wants to. But
If I could ask you, if you go Main Street, go north, Avon has what looks like designated areas for bicycles. And then in Bradley, what looks new to me, they painted, the bicycle emblem on each side of the street going north and going south. What are your thoughts on those?
well, those are county, or state roads. Looking at them as county roads. That's why we're having some difficulty there. Our committee has not really thought about having bicycle lanes on Main Street. Main Street's sort of difficult. We haven't turned our backs to that issue, but we haven't really thought about it so far.
Because I did notice that when you go to Avon and Bradley, they don't have it on Ocean Avenue, right?
Yeah, those aren't actual designated bicycle lanes. They only have one line and then the emblem. The real lane has 2 lines, it's 4 foot wide. I don't think they quite qualify in that regard, and I don't know how they got approved. Like I said, it's a state road, not a county road. In the case of Ocean Avenue, we went with the county engineers who appreciate our problem, appreciate our concerns, but there are engineering issues and standards that they say do not allow them, don't allow our recommendations to be implemented at this time. So that's why we're looking for the possibilities. Do you want to chime in at all? Your
No,
experience on the board?
I think you did a great job with everything. When we started, we had 3, we know that maybe the whole town needs to be looked at, but what we felt needed to be looked at first was Ocean Avenue, Route 35, and 16th Avenue as the first areas that we could look at. So everything else will flow in after that, hopefully
So none of the streets you're looking at are actually borough streets?
Not really. We have recommendations for some areas of our town that are borough streets. There will be a short-term recommendation for North Avenue Boulevard down by Lake Como for a pedestrian path on the lakeside so that people can walk their dogs without being in the street and subject to, that's something that the borough can address. There are some other things that, when we're talking about the 6 month to 1 year things, there are things that the borough can address. The other things are going to take longer because we have to deal with the other governments.
Around Lake Como, are you thinking something that's like the city or around Silver
Cinder
Lake?
path.
Is there any physical room for that? I mean, that's pretty narrow from where the water is and the street. I mean, in some places, it's not even 6 feet wide.
I know. I talked to Director Campbell about it. I think he supports the idea, but, it's not going to be something that we can address or do anything about until some of the other conditions around Lake Como are taken care of. You don't need a real wide path. But there are areas that are very narrow, like on down there, you're right.
Yeah.
But people don't feel very safe walking in the street, and people coming off Ocean Avenue, particularly if they're walking the dogs. So it's a concern.
I want to thank you for your time and dedication to it. My son just started riding a two-wheeler, and we went around Silver Lake on the path, and it was extremely convenient. We felt safe. But especially with our small town, I mean, I would love to see everybody using bicycles, especially how crowded it gets in the summer. So this is a huge issue. So I'm glad you're working on it.
It's even more huge when you consider that we have very little parking, so that using bicycles and walking is an alternative. And it's something we want to try to do. And I would like to point out that all the members on the committee are volunteers, and so far I don't think we've expended any borough money. Maybe 1 hour of engineering time.
Maybe 1 hour of engineering time.
Our goal is not to cost the borough money. If it is, it's going to be minimal. We're going to try to tap into resources outside of Belmar. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Next are petitions. Any petitions for the council? Next are approval of the minutes.
Okay, I move that the minutes of the meeting held on April 7th, 2015 be approved as recorded, and that a copy thereof be posted on the borough's website.
Second.
Councilwoman Keller-Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman Guthrie?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Darrell?
Yes. Next is our 2015 budget hearing.
What's the council next week?
Oh. What do you guys want?
It might be nice to flip them so that our
Yeah.
professionals can be done, if you're okay with that.
Are we the professional?
No.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not going
You're gonna sit.
Robin has Cinco de Mayo parties to go to.
Sure. Robin, you want the light on, or?
That's great.
Good evening, all. I'm Robin Kirk, I'm the Borough's Chief Financial Officer. I knew that I haven't met. We've actually introduced our budget about a month ago. Tonight will be our budget hearing, there's going to be public comment and also adoption. Our budget for the year 2015 is a total of $22,279,000. That budget is broken down into 4 funds that the borough operates on. We have our current fund, which is $14.9 million. That's tax base, it's our police department, and things like that. We also have our water and sewer utility. You all get water bills. That is $3.1 million. Our beach utility operates at $3.9 million, and our parking utility is $228,000. On each one of the slides that I'm going to show tonight, you will see like a 5 or 6 year history. The presentation is actually being given in accordance with the state of New Jersey's best practices. They ask that we actually show a graph so the public understands how our budget may go up and down over the last several years. Now we'll go through each one of these funds in a little bit more detail. For our current, we have both appropriations and revenues. That's how we make up our budgets. What do we spend? What do we take in? I'll have a slide for each one of the funds for each one of those. In our current fund, for 2015, for our other expenses, that would be things like our Department of Public Works buying shovels and rakes, our police department hopefully not buying bullets, things like that, their uniforms, those types of expenses. That is the largest part of our budget. That's the blue line that you see. Excuse me. That also includes things like our health insurance, our other insurance, things like that. That is $7.4 million. Our salary and wages for this year for our current fund is $4.5 million. That is the reddish line that you're going to see there. And Brian, I apologize. Councilman McGovern got me a pointer, so I didn't have to pay for one to keep the budget. Okay, that's the red line here. That, as you can see, has actually stayed steady over the past few years. We have very good contract negotiations with the employees, only 1.5% increases. But we've also had some retirements that have been steadily going along, so we've brought in lower paid employees, and we're going through that type of plan right now, so it keeps the salaries on a steady level. Our capital and debt, $1.9 million, that is the yellow line that you'll see there, right here. As you can see over the past few years, that has just gone up slightly. It's because we're paying off that hurricane debt. Part of that $1.9 million, $883,000 of that is continuing to pay for that. That is, again, money that we've taken in through our insurance and FEMA proceeds. For any of you that have walked through our office, that is still continuing. You'll see the piles all over the floor. We're still submitting. We're still getting money in. So those payments will continue. Reserve for uncollected taxes. That is the small little aqua line there. As you can see, that took a nice little dip this year. What that is unfortunately some people don't pay their taxes. So we actually have to budget to cover that because we still have to pay the school and the county what they expect to get. Our tax collection rate, though, 2013 was 96%. Again, that has to do with the hurricane, people not making payments right away necessarily. We were able to get that up to 97.84% last year. So we had a very good collection, which means we have to collect less in delinquent taxes this year, so we have to budget less for what we won't collect. So that line actually took about a $300,000 decrease. Library, you will actually see that on your tax bill. That's a little tiny purple line there. You'll see that on your tax bill separately, but it is part of the community. It is part of our budget. Their budget for this year is $507,000. It's actually about the same as it was last year, really no change. On the other side of this is our revenues that we take in to offset those expenses. The blue line there is our amount to be raised by taxation, $7,206,000. That is the same as it has been for 5 years now. We have not had a tax increase in 5 years. The next line down is our surplus. I will do another slide. I'm sorry, local revenues, $3.6 million. That's our concession, some portion of our concession rents, fees and permits that we take in, marina fuel that we sell, those types of items. Been very stable for quite a few years now. The next line is our surplus, $1.9 million. I'll have an additional slide on that. We'll go into a little more detail. Next line, our marina revenues, just over $1 million. We've actually had a small rate increase in our marina revenues. So although I'm anticipating the same amount as I did last year, I would actually see those revenues go up this year. So we did do a little bit of a percentage increase on those revenues. Delinquent taxes, $290,000. It's a great number. We're not taking a lot of money this year on delinquent taxes because everybody paid last year. So again, last year I had to anticipate over $625,000. That number dropped significantly this year. State aid, $423,000. Little bitty tiny peach line down there. That number has not changed in over 6 years. We've been getting the same amount of state aid. Interlocal services, $355,000. That's gone up about $15,000 from last year. I know the administration does continue to talk to other municipalities. How can we share services? When we do sign contracts, there's automatic percentage increases in those contracts to help us cover our cost for doing services. So there was a small increase in that. Grants, $14,626. We do get some other small grants from the state. This one is actually a Clean Communities grant. Helps us do our recycling program. Last line is construction code, that would be the permits that you can do, the building permits. We did have a small decrease in that in 2013, because the municipality we tried to get people rebuilding after the hurricane, so we waived fees. So that number is coming up slightly, about 15,000 this year. Okay? Our surplus in our current fund. Currently, we have $2,236,000 in our surplus. In this year's budget, we will be using $1.8 million. It is up a little bit from last year, but it is consistent with the percentage of what we have as to what we're using. We were able to regenerate a little bit of that surplus, even better than we thought last year because of the income on the taxes. So we did have a little bit more, and we'll be using that in this year's budget. Our water and sewer utility. We do have 3 utilities that I'll go through each one of them, but just as for all of them. All of our utilities are very weather dependent. You have water utility. If it doesn't rain, everybody uses it. Beach utility, if it doesn't rain, everybody goes to it, and they pay to park. If it rains, nobody uses water. Water utility doesn't collect a lot of money, and the same thing happens with all 3. So all 3 of our utilities are weather dependent, but we actually base our budgeting on that. We realize it. We hope we have a good summer, but if we don't, we've already kind of built that into all of our numbers. Okay, our water utility. The blue line is our other expenses. 90% of that goes to outside services, whether it's New Jersey American, the Water Supply Authority, or our treatment of our sewer. So not a lot that we can fluctuate in our water utility because we do have to pay for those outside services. Capital and debt, $383,000. Again, that's remained consistent. That's the red line there. We did have a little blip where we paid some more off in 2013, but we've been making consistent payments and doing some projects around capital. Salary and wages, $258,000. Actually, the smallest part of this budget, LBJ, comes out of that budget. He does a lot of work in the water department. There are 3 of our Department of Public Works employees, plus some part-time help that we charge there. But again, that stays pretty much consistent. In our water utility, as you will see in 13, we had a little bit of a drop. That again had to almost, someone like the taxes, we had a little bit of a drop in our payments, again, right after the hurricane, but those have come back up. We did have a rate increase last year. This year's budget has been structured that we would not need a rate increase. Colleen and I, though, will consistently meet as we do our quarterly billings, make sure the usage is what we expected, make sure the bills are coming in as we planned. And we will just keep Mayor and Council informed that if we would look to do another rate increase, we will let them know going forward, either in the future, next year's budget. The surplus in the water. Currently, we have $523,000 in surplus. We are using $492,000 of that. Again, we did have an uptick in 2014. The yellow line is what we regenerate going back into surplus. We did have an uptick because we collected a lot of those delinquencies from 13, and also because we did have the rate increase last year. So actually usage of our surplus, although we're using more, it's right around the same percentage of what we have. It's around 93 to 94% of the surplus that we have in the utility. And that's one thing we try to do with our surplus, is although it may look like the numbers going up and down, we're consistently using the same percentage of what we currently have in surplus. Our beach utility. Salaries and wages for this year are $2.3 million. That is the blue line on the chart. Up slightly. This is all of our gate attendants, our lifeguards, our ticket sellers, our special police officers. I know the specials got a slight raise this year, so did some of our lifeguards. But all in all, the number is staying constant. The OE, $1.3 million. That's the red line there. Again, just a slight increase. We are trying to put more bike racks down there. Over the past few years, that yellow line, that's the capital and debt. Again, we were paying off the hurricane. We continue to do that. We expect to get more money in before the end of the year. If you look at the yellow line in 2014, it showed just over $1 million. We actually bumped that number to over $10 million last year because we had more FEMA money come in. I would expect the same thing to happen this year. We're currently working on projects. We'll actually do a budget amendment to make some additional payments in the fall. But between the expense and the capital and debt, we've already started putting additional Moby mats down there. Things that we'd always done pre-hurricane, where we did capital to our beachfront every year, upkeep to the bathrooms, things like that. We're getting back into those types of items. Revenues for the beachfront. I did flip those. Beach badges, 1.9 million. I had them flipped on my sheet, didn't want to talk backwards. Beach badges, 1.9 million. That's what we're anticipating. Last year, we took in well over 2.8 million, if I'm correct. That will regenerate our surplus. So we expect our badge numbers to be very good. I don't have a current number. We've been selling like hotcakes in there. None of you have been down that line. That goes all the way down the line. People are paying their taxes, but they're also out there buying beach badges. Our surplus, 1.8 million. I'll get more into that on the next slide. And our other miscellaneous is our parking, a portion of our parking fees, concession rents, those types of items, the lockers that everybody's on the wait list for down there. But again, our beachfront, as far as the yellow line is the other miscellaneous. Again, that was a blip with the FEMA money and stuff coming in 13 and 14. But the remainder of our revenues down our beachfront have stayed very constant. Beachfront surplus. Blue line again is what we have. As you can see, the last 2 years we've been done very well. 13, a little bit of a dip. Hopefully I can't wait until that's off the slide and we don't have to talk about it anymore. But just looking at last year going into this year, as to what we've had, what we're using, it's very steady, and we're going to continue to use our surplus, both pay off debt and keep improvements down there, also keep our beach badge fees reasonable. Parking utility. Parking utility. We have salaries and wages. These are the guys that are down there. They're parking enforcement officers. They're watching over the parking meters, making sure everybody pays, that kind of thing. Our other expenses in our capital are kind of a combination of two things down there. One is just to cover the Social Security payments, a little bit of the health insurance, workman's comp to cover the people that work down there. Capital and debt, we are planning a large project, I believe, down there. I believe the county is discussing paving Ocean Avenue. But we also have to do some curbing work and some asphalt work on the east side of Ocean Avenue where those angled parkings are first. So that has been projected into this budget. That's why you're seeing that large yellow line this year. That's for a capital project that we'll be doing on Ocean Avenue at the parking stations. Parking fees and surplus. The parking fees, I know the Mayor Council adopted an ordinance. I'm sure any of you that attend the meetings do know about that. We will be raising the rates. That is to start doing these types of capital projects. The first one's kicking off this year, where we'll be re-asphalting and doing some curbing work on Ocean Avenue. The surplus, again, in 2013, we had money left over from 12. Oh, sorry. Good time. Okay. In 2013, we had money left over from 12. That's the blue line. We used it. But in 2013, by the time we got the boardwalk and everything else done, we didn't get the parking meters up until July. So we had a little bit of a dip in our revenue, so a little bit of a dip in our regeneration of surplus in our parking utility. As you can see, in 14, that yellow line jumped right back up. We were able to take in more money. They were up for the entire summer, and we were able to regenerate our surplus. That's the end of my slideshow.
All right.
Mayor, Council,
We'll go back to
Get
recommendations.
them back on the dais, and then we can take questions from council and do public hearing. Oh, you want more? More chairs? Rob, questions?
no problem.
Yes. Yes.
I should have done that.
I got it.
Yes, you did.
Mayor, Council, I just didn't also know, Chuck Down, our auditors here.
Thank you. Great presentations, Robin. Really good. You did an outstanding job. One of the things you brought up, and I know this is going to recur through the year. Can you just explain to the council the state requirement when FEMA money does come in to pay down notes that we took out against either beach utility, current fund, regarding our Sandy recovery?
Yes. Actually, at the end of last year, we did receive another insurance payment in. That was reported to FEMA, so that's what's paying off our current fund. The state does require that we actually put that payment through our budget. I don't know, they want to see it on paper. So in the budget this year, I have included, I said the $883,000 in the current fund That's paying off notes. We actually paid those off in February, part of our current fund ones. Our beach utility bond note is not until October. So at this point, I'm accumulating funds. I do still have some funds from the insurance payment that was made. I think it's about another $2 million. But we are also working on closeouts with FEMA, some other things. As those funds accumulate, I will come back to you and I will ask you to amend this budget. That's what the state requires. They'll include it in the budget. Let them know we're amending, and then I'll make that payment in October. But I will come back to you at that time and.
Okay, so more than likely, we're gonna amend this budget. So it starts off at 22. I mean,
Right.
last year, what did our budget end up at?
30, it was over $30 million. Because we added $10 million worth of debt payments last year.
Right. Again, it's not real spending, it's just, we have to count it in a certain way to pay down the debt that we incurred from Sandy. And then we continue on this year, and continue on into 2016 as well.
Yes.
Is that our policy or is that
The
the
state,
rule?
the
That's
state actually asks, typically when you receive money funds like that, you could actually just pay off deferred charge. With Sandy, they wanted to see it flowing directly through the budget. So that's what we're all doing.
Right, because if you think about your household budget, if, you paid off your mortgage, right, it's not as if you're not really budgeting for that, you're not buying anything for it, you're just paying down debt. In this case, we have to account for it as if you're paying for something.
Yes.
In reality, you're paying down debt, you're not purchasing something, you're not paying somebody, you're not, it's not salary, wages, or the expenses.
Right.
It's that. Okay, and then the state aid, and I know you put state aid up there, it's actually a bit deceiving. Belmar doesn't get any state aid.
Correct. But that's what they make us categorize it as.
Right, they categorize it as state aid, but we have no state aid, just so
I will change that.
And in addition, all the utility poles that we have that have JCP&L, Verizon, Cablevision on it, all those, they all pay a fee to be there, to operate, to either be in front of your house or behind your house. The state at one point said, listen, instead of them paying 566 municipalities at the time, why don't we just have them pay one thing and then we'll just give the money out to municipalities based on what's there, and that all made sense. Well, since then, the state keeps their money. So in other words, we don't receive the fees that JCP&L, Verizon, and Cablevision pay to be in Belmar. We receive a portion.
We don't receive any of the increases that the state sees every single year.
Exactly.
Our state's flat.
The state keeps that money.
Do they call it state aid?
Yes, they will not be classified. We've asked them to. It's actually called an energy receipts tax. You may actually see it on the utility bill when you get it.
Yes.
Because you're paying it to the utility company's paying it to the state, and the state's not giving it to us.
Right. Now imagine if we collected taxes from you and we're gonna give them the Board of Ed, and we said, we're gonna give you 80% of what we collect, we're gonna keep the other 20. That's essentially what the state does to us and every municipality. And again, they call it state aid, as if they're actually helping us, when in reality, they're keeping money that rightfully belongs for, again, our town and every other town. And the other thing that I think is important to note too, when we talk about, the state requires all municipalities to have a balanced budget. So that means we always have to pay 100% of our pension obligation for all of our public employees. The state, however, does not even come close. In some years, they don't make any pension payment, but yet they still say that their budget is balanced. So the nice thing that Robin puts together when she puts this budget together is everything is paid. There's no hidden costs that carry over to another year or to another 5 years. All the bills that we have are paid this year. So that's another thing I want to point out. And lastly, on the beach utility, as Robin said, if it's warm and sunny, we're making money. If it's raining and cold, not only are we not making money, but there are still expenses associated with it. If ever there is a shortfall, a deficit, and our revenues do not match our expenses, then 100% of that difference has to get borne by the taxpayers of Belmar. So, this year we raised daily beach badges $1, we raised seasonal beach badges $5. To ensure that as we pay down debt from Sandy, as we continue to recover, as we look at other projects on the beachfront, and as we just maintain it with our DPW, our police, our lifeguards, we ensure and we mitigate against the risk that will be borne 100% by taxpayers. Monmouth County won't come in and save us, state of New Jersey won't come and save us, it would be borne completely by us. So it's important for us to generate a good amount of revenue up at the beachfront, have a healthy surplus, so that we're able to continue to operate it year after year without it costing anything to the taxpayers of the borough of Belmar, except for the people that use it. But those are just a couple comments and questions from me. Any comments, questions from the council?
No?
Janice?
The only thing I'd like to say is I've seen Robin's office. And it's hard
You
to
walked
see.
away.
It's hard walked away.
Yeah, it looks like Sandy's still in there.
It is, actually.
I think you do an incredible job. I don't know how you manage it, but congratulations.
Tom?
I was just gonna say, you've seen her office, but you haven't seen her floor.
Yeah. I haven't seen the bar in a couple years.
I just want to thank you for making it so clear and concise and understandable. So, not just for us, but our residents, because it's important.
And I think the other thing that we benefit from is Robin is also provides CFO services to Spring Lake and also Farmingdale. So I think that having multiple towns gives her ideas about what other towns are doing. So we're able to benefit from her knowledge of, hey, Farmingdale's doing this, that's a really good idea. Or Spring Lake's doing that. Or Farmingdale did this, and that's not a good idea.
Credit cards on the beachfront this year. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, credit cards on the beachfront this year as well. So there's a lot that I think, we benefit from because she does have this, she works for diverse towns here in Monmouth County. So I'll open it up. Oh, yes.
Can I just say something real quick? I understand I'm giving you the accolades, but it's very well deserved. We are in year 5 of the 0 tax increase in the municipal tax rate. Managing that on a daily basis is no small feat, and there shouldn't be any doubt in anyone's mind that we're the best CFO in New Jersey looking
And I was just saying, and Robin does an outstanding job when Chief Palmisano and Director Campbell come to her office and say, we need to buy X, Y, Z, and she says, no. No. But yeah, thank you for making that possible. But now it's open up for the public. Any public comments, questions, please raise your hand. When you call out, come up to the microphone. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Robin, for all that you do. I recall when I was council.
Name and address for the record.
Oh, yes, Claire Dyke, 1017 14th Avenue.
Thank you.
I know that you are always pursuing the possibility of grants, but they're few and far between, is that correct?
Yes, they are. And I know Colleen's also working on it, yes.
And you mentioned one, community?
Currently, we do receive each year our Clean Communities Grant that comes accolades to the street department on the reporting of our recycling and things like that. That's what it's based on. So it helps offset our recycling programs.
And where other places are you looking for money other than FEMA, if that's a possibility, to offset the cost of sand? Are there any other financial avenues?
The other large one right now is still our insurance company. We have received quite a bit of funds from them. In fact, just got another check not too long ago, which was for loss of rents of our concessions for that 1 year. And actually, we have not collected as much rents. So we did get an insurance check on that. So those are the types of things that I know Colleen would like to speak to. Some other things for, not necessarily Hurricane Sandy, but friendly going forward. I know they are working.
What we're finding is that the federal and state grants are making more opportunities available for communities that suffered from Sandy,
Yes.
looking to invest in their parks, recreation, and economic development. So the streetscape grant that we were awarded for just about $1 million.
Say that 3 times.
No, I can't. For about $1 million to remake the north end of Main Street was really made available because of Sandy. So that was out of community development block grant money that was made available after the disaster. And because we suffered through the disaster, we were eligible to win that grant. So we're on those opportunities as much as possible.
So all those monies received are ongoing?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And I was just wondering if just let's take the library. Do each of the different entities, let's say within the town, always keep a lookout for grants or options or look into that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
No grant too small for us to chase.
Please, Smart will come over with some ideas. I know Mike Campbell's come over, maybe not necessarily grant, but equipment type items, those types of things.
And also, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but one of the things that we've noticed a significant decline in, and I think it's a testament to two things. One, how our town is developing, and also our police department. But we've seen a significant decrease in court revenue. Years ago, Belmar used to get well over $1 million. Now we're somewhere around
800,000, just below something.
Yeah,
Here.
in the high 700s. And again, that's just, you know, the town that we're moving towards, a much more family-oriented town. But at the same time, it's really aggressive patrolling by Chief Palmisano and his employees, his officers. You know, not that I would encourage this, but if you do go out at, say, 1:30 in the morning and go ride your bike around, and when your wife's asleep, because otherwise she'd shoot you, you'll see them out there. I mean, they're everywhere, and they're a strong presence, which, you know, deters a lot of bad activity. But when you have less bad activity, you have less tickets written. You have less tickets written, you have less court revenue, and that means you have a reduction in revenue for the budget as well. So it's one of those things that, as you're successful at it, you end up financially making it more difficult to operate the town. And again, I don't, you know, again, I'd love to see more court revenue, but we don't want to see more bad behavior, and they go hand in hand. So, but again, kudos to our police department for doing a great job, and also just the way our town's developing. I thought I saw another hand up. Yes, Tom?
Sure.
Can you do everyone a favor, just read your T-shirt before you,
Name and address and T-shirt for the record.
Tom Volker, 301 4th Avenue, the man, the myth, the legend.
No, it
All right.
says pop.
Oh, Pop. Yes, the man, the myth, the legend. Okay.
we will take whatever you say now seriously. No one's going.
Question on the paving, I think it's connected with the budget, but the paving that's going to take place, and then before that, the town needs to do some curbing and things. Will there be a space between the boardwalk and the bumpers, if there are bumpers for bikes? Do you follow me?
You mean on Ocean Avenue?
On Ocean Avenue on the east side.
East side. Well, you know, that's going to be up to the county engineers, but I believe that the curb is going to go right up to the boardwalk.
We are planning a recessed curb to get as close to the boardwalk as possible, so as to maintain the parking length of those stalls.
So there really won't be a space for bikes? Okay.
It's
Sorry
just
about that.
There won't be a place for bikes between
The
where
boardwalk
the
and
front of the
cars.
car pulls in and the boardwalk.
Mhm.
But unless the county changes its mind.
So the curbing is just affecting all the parking spots.
It's a stabilizing edge
The
that will
asphalt is
allow for the
falling.
painting, for the paving to go.
Right. If you go down there now, you can see the asphalt is
Crumbling.
crumbling into the,
Right.
below the boardwalk. So by us putting the curb in, then they come and they repave everything. You do all kinds of else.
I was hoping we would have a space for bikes, you know, to ride safely, without having to worry about cars backing into us while we're riding, but I guess not. Okay, thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
This is, Ocean Avenue is one of the major streets that the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee is looking at. We've met with the county engineer once, and I would expect us to be meeting with them again prior to anything happening on Ocean Avenue. It's a bike lane somewhere on Ocean Avenue is certainly something we're pushing for. And in front of cars would be the best. The county isn't necessarily very conducive to anything, but we're pushing also.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
That's true. Yes.
Well, I'm glad I wore a black t-shirt tonight.
You got your earth tones on.
Yes.
Hi, Rob, good to see you.
Just name and address for the record, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, David Schnack, 302 C Street.
Just address your questions to the chair.
Oh, really? I know Robin mentioned the status quo and what they sent back to us and the revenue from utility, using utility poles as aid, but the school aid that comes from the state income tax, and I've complained over and over about how unfair that is to suburban towns. Belmar sends in about $5 million a year in state income tax, and we only get back about $1 million in state school aid. But that doesn't appear in the municipal budget. That only appears in the school.
Yeah, you would take that up before the school board.
Right. I'm just okay. So that doesn't appear at all in the municipal
No,
budget.
you won't see anything from the schools or the counties in this budget.
Okay. The debts that are up there, I assume those are all from the various bonds, but the $4.5 million FEMA loan, how does that manifest itself in these numbers? That's spread out over various surpluses for the different branches, water company, beach, municipal, or can you tell me where we see that in the budget numbers?
I think what you're asking about is the community disaster loan.
Yeah, the community disaster loan, yeah.
That was actually within our budgets in 2013. It was included as revenue and also as unexpended items that we had to pay for FEMA. So it was actually, it showed in our 2013 budget.
Right, and then whatever wasn't spent just rolls into
surplus, and then we continue to use it.
So,
Year after year.
how much of it was spent? Do we have any idea of that?
We took in the whole amount.
So it's all spent? So.
When you say spent, some of it could be in surplus.
Right.
So
it appears in the surpluses for the beach and for the municipal.
However, Robin would parse it out based on using the community disaster.
Does that appear in any debt statement anywhere, or it's not reflected in our debt statement at all? So paints a slightly rosier picture than it really is, because we might have to pay that back, right? That's paid back based on how much we can show revenue was hurt from tax revenue was hurt from the storm, isn't that right?
Well, no, the picture that Robin's painting tonight is an accurate picture. Whether it's rosy or not is up to however you look at it. But the way that a CDL works is if we don't, if we didn't have decreases, as you saw, we did have decreases, then it would just roll in the surplus. So if, let's say we didn't have any decreases anywhere, everything was great. We take the 4.5 million, it would just sit in surplus. 5 years later, we pay back 4.5 million.
Right. But whatever revenue was failed to collect because of the storm, that's the amount we wouldn't have to pay back to. Correct. All right. And lastly, this is something I mentioned before. The marina. I really wish it was separated as like a separate utility, because it kind of like just really distorts the picture. I happened to look the other week at Manasquan's budget. They don't have their 15 budget up yet, but they have their 14 budget. Manasquan's a similar size town to Belmar. They don't have a municipal marina that they operate, and their municipal budget was a little over 10 million compared to ours, which is a little over 15 million. But I do understand that because there's revenues associated with the marina and appropriations in the millions of dollars with the marina, that it makes our budget seem much bigger when actually the stuff that the day-to-day stuff that the town is actually doing might be more similar. But it's hard to really tell because it's all washed in there. Like, for example, just as an example, Looking at the budget, I saw that the anticipated revenues from the sales of gasoline at the marina is a little over 1.2 million.
Yes.
But the anticipated appropriations for buying gas for the marina is a little over 1.3 million. And
Right.
that's not because we're losing money on gas, we're making a profit on the gas, but we're using the same gas to operate the police cars, public works, and fire trucks. Not your car though, right, Robin?
Absolutely
Okay,
not.
good. Okay. So, but you can't really get a clear picture of what's going on. And now I see also on the agenda tonight is a resolution, there's a change order for $90-something thousand for work on the docks and stuff. And it's really hard to get a clear picture of like what's going on when this is all just mixed together with the municipal budget. So I would just really like, there's no profit and loss statement for the marina, is that right?
No, I don't think there's any profit and loss statement for any specific entity inside the general fund. As Robin mentioned, as you know, we send DPW vehicles down there to gas up.
Right.
That means they don't gotta go to the Exxon station or the mobile station,
of
so it
course.
saves money. The idea the idea of trying to compare us to Manasquan, even though we're the same population, similar sized town, they're two different communities, absolutely different communities. Ask people in Manasquan, they'll tell you the same thing, different communities. So we're sort of unlike just about any other community out there in a lot of ways, but it's to our benefit. A lot of communities wish they had a marina that generated revenue like ours. Right now, there's a huge fight to dredge the short river so that Neptune can start really utilizing their marina and generate more revenue. So our marina is very profitable. If you ask, what's the exact thing on the profit and loss, we don't have it. We're not operating like that. But when you look at our slip rentals, how much we charge for gas and how much we make on gas, how much Chefs International pays us for renting a space down there, how much they're going to pay us once they complete a building. It's a profit center that other towns are envious of.
Well, I would just like to be able to quantify it, like the municipal government is not here to run a profit, it's to provide services that we need to run the town. So, but the whole purpose of the marina is to generate additional revenues for the town, and they are free and clear. It's not like the beach where, the marina revenues are free and clear for the town to use to hold down property taxes. And, I know we're putting another full-time employee on at the marina and such, and I just would feel a lot better about it if we could, have separate paperwork so we could really see, if the property would be improved. So that's it, thank you.
See no other comments, questions, I'll close the, yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
My name is Maren Gonzaleza, 1900 Marjoram Ave. I just wanted some clarification about what we were talking about with the state aid thing that we don't actually get. What were you saying about we pay the companies that pay the state, and then the state doesn't give us all the money back? I just want some clarification on that.
On your utility bill,
On the utility bills?
we'll use JCP&L as an example.
Mm-hmm.
There's a line item that's mixed in there. That's essentially a tax to you.
Mm-hmm.
They take that, and that money is supposed to go to municipality where they are infringing on our right-of-way by putting a pole up. So when they put a pole on borough property, they have to pay us for that. So they pay us for that, but instead of paying us directly, it's more efficient for them to pay the state of New Jersey. The state of New Jersey steals our money, returns a portion of it, and says, this is now your state aid.
So is that constitutional?
Not newspaper.
Yeah, I was wondering that. Didn't know that was a silly question.
There's actually state statutes that you can look up on that, on the whole thing. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Julie Sankis, 101 6th Avenue. I just wanted a clarification on our library budget of $507,000. I know nothing
Just ask
about
questions
that.
to the chair, please.
I know nothing about that. Could you ask Robin to explain that, please? What it
It's-
consists of to
For the.
library
It
budget of
consists of
500?
operating.
No, specifically, salaries,
I'm sure they're all broken down by line items, it's posted on our website.
is it posted on the website, Robin? Because I've looked. Could you ask Robin if it's posted on the website? I don't think it is.
Should all be posted.
Budget's on the website.
The budget, but I'm asking specifically, what is this consist of? Is a question.
Was salary, wages, other expenses, just like any utility, utilities.
Is there one portion of it that,
Operating the library.
is there one portion of it that stands out as being significantly larger? Like, I mean, is it salary versus utilities or operating costs? I'm just a little perplexed that it's so high.
I don't really understand your question, but nothing stands out one way or the other. I will tell you, and one of the interesting things we had over the last couple of years was the state mandated that we continue to increase, remember this? How much we allocated to the library. So even if they didn't use the money, so let's say one year they spent $400,000. The next year we were required to give them like $450,000. Director Campbell would love us to do something like that for his budget. But if he spends $400,000, the next year he's going to get at max $400,000. But now we've reached, Robert, we've reached the top of what we have for the library. So there will no longer be increases to the library, which is a good thing for taxpayers.
Okay, thank you. I also had a question, Robin mentioned about $832,000 that she used from insurance money to pay off notes, and I wanted a little clarification on that insurance money. Could you ask Robin?
Clarification in what regard?
What insurance money?
You mean who gave us the insurance money?
Well, is she referring to municipal league insurance reimbursement money?
Municipal league?
You know, like we're in the League of Municipalities and the Central Fund. Is it from that insurance? Or is it FEMA insurance? Or is it another type of insurance?
FEMA is an insurance.
Right,
We're
so
not-
that's what could make my
no
other
League of
question.
Municipalities insurance.
So what
We're
was
in the
it?
Central Jersey.
Yes, we are.
JIF.
Yes.
Could you clarify, or if you know off the top of your head?
Municipal excess liability insurance, which is our excess carrier for the Central Jersey.
Now, is this the Central Jersey JIF where there was a pot that was dispersed about 80% to every municipality, and we received the 80%? Is that what she's referring to?
Does that make sense?
I understand what she's saying. There was a portion of that, yes.
A portion.
Is that, did we receive our full 80%?
Are you asking, are we anticipating receiving any more funds from our insurance carrier?
No. JIF, which is for the Central Jersey Insurance Fund, they are, there was a pot of money that was split up between all the municipalities after Sandy. It is an excess policy. Every municipality got 80% because there wasn't enough to go around. What I am asking is, have we received our 80%?
The full amount?
The full amount at this point?
No,
We've received money. To say we've received complete 80% of what we believe we've claimed, I cannot answer that.
We're going to continue to fight for more dollars.
Okay, so we don't know if we received our 80% of that pot, although every other municipality has already, but we don't know for sure if we did.
Well, I'm sure every other municipality is going to fight for additional dollars as well. At least I hope they are. I hope their mayor and council is going to fight for every additional dollar.
Well, there are lawsuits pending against JIF, so that's
So
preventing
not-
that from
right,
happening.
So everyone has to
Okay.
receive their full amount, and we don't believe we received the full amount. So we're going to fight for additional dollars.
Okay, well, all the municipalities are. So Robin had said that she was expecting other insurance money, and I was going to clarify that she was specifically talking about insurance as opposed to FEMA reimbursement. But what other insurance are we expecting?
Whether it be that, primarily, any other TIF money?
No, just
Non-excess line?
continuing to work on the claims that we've already submitted,
Right.
making sure we've been covered for.
It's very similar to our process with closeout on the project worksheet.
Right. That's why, FEMA's ongoing, it's been ongoing for a while. We're gonna continue to amend worksheets with FEMA, fight with them over additional dollars. They're gonna probably audit us and say, hey, we should have paid that. We have to go back and fight to keep money. So it's gonna be an ongoing process for a while. I mean, the ramifications of Sandy is gonna last for a few years.
Okay, and the amount of the 80%, do we have an amount that we're expecting or we're asking for? So we were supposed to get a certain amount, but because the fund was depleted, the fund could not pay out on the dollar 100%, and to help the municipalities, they paid out 80%. So do you have that number, Robin?
We can't quantify it for you right now.
You do not have that number.
No.
I think that's an important number. Would we be able to get it somehow?
I'm sure we'll be able to get it, but not right now.
How could you suggest I do that?
I suggest you send an email to the business administrator and she'll get back to you at our convenience.
Okay. All right, I also wanted to ask on the interlocal agreements, where does that, those funds go? Which section that Robin broke out? Do they
Goes
go,
into the general fund.
all of it goes into the general, none of it goes into any other funds?
Goes into the general fund.
Okay, that's great, thanks.
So other comments, questions? I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for the 2015 budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Next, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution for the 2015 budget.
I'll second it.
Councilwoman Kell Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman Douglas?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay? Yes. Mayor Barry?
Yes. Next are reports of council. Council President McGovern, would you like to kick us off?
Would I like to? No. Gonna be difficult. Whew. Just on behalf of myself and my daughters and my family's, Jane's family, just like to thank the Belmar community for their wonderful tribute to Jane, for the flowers, the cards, the food, we haven't gotten to all the cards and flowers, and Janet back there, and you're gonna have to ask Mary, Megan, and Colleen to come over to the house. We're gonna have to go through that. I don't know what the proper etiquette is, but we'll get to it. But I really want to thank the community for the highway sign, the appreciation of St. Rose closing the school, 2-hour waiting line, the police traffic control, and even the naming of a Jane sandwich at Mom's Delicatessen. I'm a third-generation Belmar resident, and Belmar has always been good to my family and me. So I've worked hard to always give back to the community. It's obvious that the best thing I've ever done was to convince Jane to move to Belmar once we got married. If you know me, that's the sad part of my, I'm glad I got through that. That was difficult. I'm always looking for the silver lining, the humor, and I gotta tell you the story on the day of the funeral. As the hearse pulled up in front of the church, we get out, and we asked our grandson, 3 grandsons, ages 5 and 3, to be pallbearers. Silly us to expect them to know what a pole bear was. They thought we were asking them to be polar bears. So that's why when you heard three of them walking up the aisle in front of the casket, they were growling. So probably why the casket was shaking. I'm sure Jane was laughing at that. Okay, but again, Belmar's never been better as they were in the last 2 weeks. And I can't, words just can't thank you enough for everything you did for us. Jane's family from out of state was just absolutely blown away from the way everybody pulled together. Just love living in a small town like Belmar. Moving on, thank goodness. Last week, I attended a seminar at Monmouth University for the New Jersey Resilient Coastline Initiative, and it's to test their Restoration Explorer software. And it worked very well, and they have representatives from NOAA, Rutgers, Stevens, DEP, and it's how to improve the coastlines of our ocean, lakes, and rivers. And believe it or not, their PowerPoint focused on the Shark River the whole time. And once the dredging is done, they have techniques that we can use that can hold the shoreline, make it a living shoreline, and improve it. We did suggest, Belmar did, the south end of McCleary Park, where you drive along Highway 35 south. We can put a breakwater in there and then fill it with the dredging material from the Shark River, and then in front of that, put some oyster bait beds there to protect the water, and then behind it, a salt marsh for bird life. The member from DEP, from Stevens, and Rutgers, when I suggested it to them, which, Colleen, was your idea, and mine, they loved the idea. Thought it was a great idea. And they will, when the dredging is done, they will suggest to the appropriate people that it is scientifically good for the river, and they will help us push through the project worksheet and encourage grant money that's out there and speed it along. They also came up with a great idea for Neptune, which never thought of. Dredging material from Neptune, instead of putting it on Wall Township, they suggested putting it on the Neptune side and forming pocket beaches, where they would allow people to send off kayaks, paddleboards, sunbathing, small boats. It was really very, very informative, so that was good. I would like to send out congratulations to Belmar resident Neil Sterling, drafted in the 7th round by Jacksonville Jaguars. It doesn't hurt to be 6'4", 240 pounds. I hope, he didn't make the team yet. He just got drafted, so he's got to prove himself. If last week wasn't difficult enough, more bad news. Cam, the dog, died. And that's my report.
The Belmar Women's Club Blood Drive on the 29th of April brought in 29 units. So thank you for everyone who helped out the Belmar Women's Club. They will be having a flower show and luncheon on June the 10th at Dolan's, $40. And look in the CoStar for information if you would like to attend. The library on May the 21st at 6 p.m. we'll be having a Sinatra evening. It is free, but they are asking for people to contact the library if you would like to go and get reservations. They're expecting an overabundance of people. On June the 17th, the library will be holding their annual fashion show and luncheon. Trips. The Battleship, New Jersey, there's a trip down to Camden, a bus trip. It is $70 a person, which does sound expensive, but that includes the bus from here in Belmar, admission to the Battleship, New Jersey, It's the week that the tall ships will be in port, so it includes admission to the Tall Ships Festival in both Camden and across the river in Penn's Landing. It includes a round-trip ferry over to Penn's Landing, and it includes the parade of tall ships that you can view from either side. It should be a great trip, and if you would like tickets, come down to Town Hall and see Kelly or anyone else that works here. And I'm going to mention something that is in Wall. I asked Colleen if I could discuss something in Wall. This Friday is the 70th anniversary of VE Day, and over at InfoAge, they will be having a program and honoring the World War II veterans who will be attending. So if you're old enough to know what World War II is, and if you would like to, it is open to anyone. It starts at 10 in the morning at InfoAge, and it's free. Thank you.
Hey, Matt, can I just interrupt? I'll get through this and we'll collect it here. Cam, we've had for 11 years. He was bought by the town of Belmar. And
He was a borough employee, right?
he was a borough employee. And he worked every day for 11 years, didn't take a day off. I remember when we first started.
Did he strike on you one time?
Strike on me? I remember that first year in 2004 when we went over to the island for the first time. There were 21 nests and over 125 eggs. And so this year there are only 2 nests down to 14. Robin, she ran out on me because she's the one that recommended I take the dog. And so for the last 11 years, 3 or 4 times a day, I think we set a world record for walking around Silver Lake. It's in the thousands. But it's a high energy dog, and I thought I'm a high energy person, so I could handle it. We got him in May, but in October I took him down to the beach for the very first time, where he saw seagulls for the first time. He entered the beach at 5th Avenue, and he chased the flock of seagulls. And then he saw some more on 6th Avenue. Then he saw some more on 7th Avenue. He couldn't hear me now as he was running down to 8th Avenue. So I ran home, I got the car, started heading south. I couldn't find him in Spring Lake. The fisherman said, yes, I saw a black and white dog running like a bat out of hell that way. So I went down to the beginning of Seagirt. The fisherman said, yeah, I saw a dog running this way. I stopped at the Seagirt Army Camp. He ran all the way down to the Manasquan Inlet chasing seagulls. And on the way back, I did see him. I picked him up at the south end of Spring Lake, put him in the car. When we got home, he got out of the car and he wanted to go for a walk. You know? So he worked every day, regardless of the weather, snow, cold, rain, heat, chasing the geese. I remember one day he jumped into the east end of Lake Como for one Canada goose. And he swam after that Canada goose until he chased it out at Main Street in Spring Lake. Never caught the thing. And then turned around and ran back to me at the Ocean Avenue. So he's an amazing, amazing dog. And really, he worked so hard, but you know, we had to put him down. So that was it. You know, great dog, great employee for 11 years. Never missed a day off of work. Never asked for a raise.
Chief Obzano, you notes for the police department? Councilman Brennan?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's good to be back. Let's see, the Environmental Commission is getting things going. One of the things I wanted to let everybody know about is that the community garden, the magical garden, down on 15th and E is open for the season. There is some information, but honestly, the simplest way to get involved is to just go over 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays. That's when everybody goes over there. Most you'll have to do is, you know, sign up for a time to turn on the water the vegetables. I found out that I I don't actually do the gardening, my wife goes down there, I just basically watch the dog while she's gone. And all I really knew about the garden was that like vegetables would show up at my house. You know, as the summer went along, oh, what's this, but it turns out that they grow so much. A lot of the people who are growing them don't take. It goes over to the senior building. I found a lot of that stuff goes over there. And it's really free to the taking for anybody who wants to go over there. They're a lovely bunch of people. If you like to go out and get in the dirt and chat with people, they're a lovely bunch. So it's usually about an hour on Saturday mornings, and then sometimes during the week. Just show up, introduce yourselves, you're more than welcome. The Belmar Treasure Trail was put up online. It's a podcast, and there's a number you can dial with your phone. It was put in like July of 2012, right before the storm. And basically, it hasn't been able to really function since then because several of the spots on the trail, it's a walking tour of Belmar, and there's several of the spots, particularly down by the beach, just aren't there anymore. And in the meantime, new spots, things like new murals and new historical things we found out about the town, they've been added. So the Environmental Commission is working on reconstituting the treasure trail. It's the script has to be written. We're really actually looking into, there are 4 signs that were down by the natural beach, by the First Ave Beach and around Silver Lake. They were built with, for us by the Sea Grant people, and I'm supposed to get with Mike Campbell and see if we can find them somewhere over in Public Works, see what kind of shape they're in. And if we gotta get them replaced, we're gonna get them replaced. And really, other than that, that's the last thing we're looking for as far as, then we just have to re-record the trail, take some new pictures, and put it up online. You can, like, you could download the old Treasure Trail as a podcast now, or you could go around, look at the signs. Some of the signs are still there, put them up, but that's what's working. Now, the Sea Grant people, they're also the same people that do the New Jersey's top 10 beaches. So I want to take this opportunity to tell everybody, vote for Belmar.
Do we have that on our website?
Yes, we do.
I know. It's on the sign, and it's definitely on our website. You can go to njscagrant.org and just follow the links from there. Vote for Belmar as many times as you can. You can vote from all your devices as many times as you can. I think you can only vote once a day. So I'm 3 votes right here. Okay? My computer up. So, and I've already done. So make sure you get up there and vote for Belmar. One other thing that came up that's been discussed by the Environmental Commission is an issue with bamboo. It's a very invasive, it's actually a grass. It's very aggressive. People put it in for ornamentation, and they find that if they plant it along their boundary, along their fence, say, or it's going to be in the neighbor's yard. We know that Lake Como has actually put together their own ordinance regulating the use of bamboo, basically making it really hard to bring it in. Councilwoman Kim Blackburn has let me know that it's a problem in her neighborhood. So I talked to Mayor Wilton from Lake Como. He's going to let me take a look at their ordinance. If it works for us, we're going to try to do the same thing here. And one other thing I wanted to let everybody know about is, I'm sure a lot of you know, I go to New Orleans an inordinate amount of times because all 3 of my children are there now. My oldest son lives there now, and we were just down there over Easter. And one of the things I found has been really helpful to me as far as seeing what's going on here in Belmar. I mean, Katrina had down there, it's been years. It's getting to be the 10th anniversary down there. And there are still things that aren't done. And you can see there are things that are never going to get done. There's still a lot of federal money going in to fix up, a lot of flood mitigation, things to be preparing for the next storm. I think it really helps me to think in terms of that. There are things we're going to be working on here in Belmar and all along the Jersey Shore for years, and we didn't get anywhere as near what they got. It was bad for us, but it was worse for them. And it just helps to keep it in perspective. I think we've done a really amazing job at recovery, but we still have a lot of things to do, and it's really important to remember that takes time, and it takes effort and commitment. that's my commitment, my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman Nichols.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the St. Rose Grammar School. They've got a lot of class trips coming up, and they've got some neat ones, Safari and Science Center, Manasquan Reservoir. They've got a talent show on May 8th. They've got a flower sale pickup on the 9th, confirmation on the 12th, walk for education on the 17th. From the 18th to the 24th, they do their Bungalow Road fundraiser, PTA meeting on the 19th. On the 21st, this is something I worked with them on with regards to Paint the Town Pink. They're having Dress Down Day, and they're suggesting that any student that wants to dress down to donate $2, which would go to Meridian Health to help women who cannot afford mammograms. And the entire school's on board, very excited about that. 22nd is no school, or the 25th for Memorial Day. And the 30th and 31st, they're going to do the ministry fair for St. Rose Church. On to the BAC. Currently, the 11th annual Jersey Shore Juried Art Show is on display at the Belmar Arts Council. It features over 60 pieces of work in painting, sculpture, mixed media, and photography. The show is open Wednesday through Saturday at 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. until May 15th. Next show, this is exciting. It's for the youth in our area. It's entitled Dare to Fly, a youth art exhibit, and it runs from May 20th through June 19th. All information about this is on their website, so if you have any youth, children that would like to get involved, please have them visit the website. The opening reception for this show is going to be Saturday, May 30th from 5 to 7. On to DPW, busy as can be. You know, they're busy in the winter with all the snow and the ice, and now they're busy getting the beach ready. The men installed the new jet ski docks in the marina. Palm trees were planted at Schroeder Park and 5th and Ocean. Bathroom trailers were placed on beachfront. We've got 2 right now that are operating on 11th and 19th. Brush was picked up Monday and Tuesday, and will also be done Wednesday, tomorrow. The beach lockers are in place, and the lifeguard stands are up. I don't know if anybody has seen them, they look beautiful. Something else, so sorry. I got sent some updates late, so they're on my iPhone, I apologize. Tomorrow night, starting at 6 p.m., is In the Pink. It's part of Paint the Town Pink, and that's, again, to increase awareness of mammograms. It's going to be here over in the gym, and it is being worked on with Janice and Claire Dykey. They are working hard. It is a health...
Community room.
Oh, I apologize. Community room and courtroom. So in the community room, starting at 6 o'clock, they're going to be doing free pink manicures and free pink hair extensions. So Mike Campbell and Chief Palmisano will be right in line for both, nails and hair. That's going to be in the community room. And then at 7 p.m., we're going to be having a guest speaker position from Meridian Health speak from 7 to 8. And then afterwards will be refreshments. So, did either of you want to chime in? No, you did good. Okay. And then lastly, I have to look for an email from Brendan. I apologize. This is from Brendan Reed with regards to good news. Beginning Monday, May 18th, New Jersey Transit is providing free no transfer at Long Branch rush hour trains to New York Penn Station in each direction. They're going to be running 3 in the morning, 3 at night, Monday through Friday, beginning May 18th. That is great for our community. Obviously, we would love visitors to come in by train instead of driving. Let's see here. They are doing a fare increase, 9% in September. Brendan has agreed to go to represent the BBP, Belmar Business Partnership, to not really oppose the fare, but really to, I'm so sorry, I'm just trying to read. Is it Brendan?
Yeah, reduction to restore the reduction in off-peak fares.
Okay, great, thank you. So restore off-peak fares for weekends and holidays. Okay. It's a little bit broken up. I appreciate your patience with that. And other than that, I want to thank DPW, I want to thank Mayor, Council, Colleen, April, everybody who has worked so hard to pink up our town. If you notice, we've had 36 businesses that registered and received kits to decorate their windows. They look phenomenal. They're very excited about it. A lot of them are putting out these pink piggy banks and collecting money for it. We've got lights and bows all over town. And please do not forget, you can do your home. I did my home over on 4th. It's crazy with pink everywhere. But on May 24th, we are going to be hosting a Guinness Book of World Records event where we're hoping to break the world record of 331 people for the longest pinky chain. Please come out and support us. We did receive information that there's a town doing the same thing the day before. So we'll find out what their record was and how they broke it. But again, May 24th, Sunday of Memorial Day, rain date is Monday. Registration starts at 11 a.m. It's over at Silver Lake. You just come in, you get a wristband, and you stand in line. And at noon, we're going to connect pinkies, say a little pinky promise, and break the record. So the more the merrier. And please mark your calendars. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to start off my report by recognizing and thanking our municipal clerk. She had an outstanding idea, and this is one of the things that Colleen is great about in her management style as far as fostering ideas from people who work in town. Her idea was to auction off the summer taxi cab licenses. And let me tell you what happened. Last year, we didn't auction them off, we just charged people a flat fee for them, and we generated $3,000 in revenue last year. This year, by having a simple auction on an afternoon, we generated $15,250. So thank you, April, for your idea. Of course, April wanted half that in a commission. Unfortunately, that can't happen. Also, some good news. I know we talked about the cell phone charging stations that were going to be up on the beachfront. They're up there now. So there's 20 cell phone charging stations on the beachfront in Belmar, which is nice. And also, I think Jen mentioned that some of the palm trees are up. The palm trees will all be up. They're coming back for the summer. They were here after Sandy. They went away for a year, but by strong demand, they're back up on the beachfront this summer. Also, and I want to thank Councilwoman Nicolay for her leadership on this, the summer camp that we talked about, this is the inaugural summer camp, is actually full. We were hoping to get to 55 children, and I believe we topped off at 80.
We are max 80.
At 80.
Wow.
And it's a great deal. I mean, it's $500 for 7 weeks, 5 days a week, from 8:30 to 3:30. Correct?
3.
8:30 to 3, which essentially is a school day. If you have kids like me and you put them in camps, camps are very expensive. There are some camps that will charge that, believe it or not, they'll charge that for a week. You add up the weeks and you can see how much you're paying. So again, kudos to her. This is an idea she had back in 2012. Things got distracted because of Sandy in 2013. We're able to do it in 2014. Started really looking at it towards the end of 2014. Did an RFP. Got no responses at all. RFP is request for proposal for someone to operate it. Got no responses at all. Jennifer pushed harder for it and said, look, why don't we just do it? You know, we have a recreation program. We already, you know, the town is basically a big camp in the summer anyway. So because of her tenacity and her, how do you, well.
My 2 kids.
Her tenacity. We're now going to have Belmar's first full-day summer camp, which is very cool. This Thursday, May 7th, is what may end up being our last Home by Summer fundraiser. It's 6 to 9 p.m. at the microbrewery. It's $50 a ticket. All the proceeds go to help 2 families that are still displaced by Sandy. And for that $50, we have someone who's going to cater it. an outstanding company with a long Italian last name that I couldn't even try to pronounce, but it starts with an F and ends with an O. And the entertainment's going to be provided by Pat Roddy, which is easy enough to pronounce, a local legend. And you know, it's an opportunity to get together. If you haven't been to the microbrewery yet, they did an amazing job. So you get a tour of the brewery, food, entertainment. If you want to buy beers, you got to pay your own way on that. And again, every dollar donated goes right to help those two families, which, you know, if you've gone by any one of those houses, the one on 14th or the one on 8th, you know, we're making a lot of progress. We had some issues during March and April with the weather, but now they're really starting to hit their stride coming into May. And lastly, and you know, Brian mentioned this, and could never imagine, or hope I never imagined, put myself in his shoes. But I got to tell you, if you went to that wake for Jane and you went to that funeral, I've never seen anything like that. And I got to tell you, I more than likely in my lifetime will never see anything like that again. The wake was from 1 to 10 p.m. No breaks, and it was standing room only in the church. I mean, the outpouring for Jane McGovern was simply remarkable. And again, nothing I've ever seen before, and I don't imagine anything I'd ever see. And Brian and his two daughters, the eulogies they gave were, you know, just remarkable send-offs that really were a testament to Jane. So I just want to mention that. Oh, and lastly, we have scheduled our Mayor's Ball. It is scheduled for Friday, June 5th at Piano Plaza. It'll be a big tent, just like last year. Chris Brandel from Brandel's is going to provide the food. 10th Burrito is going to provide the adult beverages.
Stay Gold the coffee.
Stay Gold the coffee. Home will be providing entertainment. And all the proceeds are going to the St. Vincent de Paul at St. Rose. They do a tremendous job in our town and also communities around us. And they were instrumental in helping us raise money for Home by Summer. So we chose them as the benefactor, the beneficiary of the ball. And there'll be a raffle there at the same time for a whole bunch of other fun prizes. And the day before, for those who haven't, the day before is the kids' Mayor's Ball. So that's on the Thursday night, June 4th, and the kids' beverages will be provided by Chill, and I believe the food's going to be provided by Federico's. So I want to thank them as well. So if you have any kids or no one has any kids, it's a really fun time. We have a great DJ who comes out, gets everyone dancing.
Black tie optional.
Black tie optional.
Red carpet on.
Red carpet for videos, and it's $5 a child. Last year was so much fun, so I highly encourage you to tell anybody that has children at 6 p.m. on the 4th.
And that's all for me. That finishes our council reports. Next is public session on the resolution calendar. Any comment, question on the resolution calendar, please raise your hand, and we can call on, come up to the front, to the microphone, and ask a question.
Okay.
We'll do it after.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Jim Banner, 4th Avenue. Food or resolution, I don't know whether to request that they be pulled from the consent agenda or whether I can ask a question or two or comment.
You can ask a question or two or comment.
First one, down at the bottom of the list, this is a renewal of the seasonal liquor license for Ocean Vita, North and Ocean. That restaurant is 3 blocks down the road. I live on 4th Avenue. And last summer, during one of the more busy weekends, you know, one of those weekends that if you're out in your yard, you see the same car go past your house about 10 times. People looking for a parking space. And I was out there, and a fellow came up on my property, and he asked me to park in my, wanted to park in my driveway. And at first I said no, but then I saw his car and his wife sitting in the car, and he actually had handicap license plates on this vehicle. And then I told him, well, go ahead, pull in. Just leave your keys on the carpet there in case I have to get out. In any case, his story was one of wanting to go to La Dosha Vita. They had driven apparently some distance to come down and go to this restaurant. Couldn't find a parking space anywhere at all, and I'm 3 blocks away. And I guess what kind of surprising to me is that just about all eateries that you go to nowadays, whether it's McDonald's, it's a fancy restaurant, or whether it's Burger King, Wendy's, you name it, they all have handicapped parking available. Certainly, as you probably noticed, the best parking spot, the closest to the door. But here we have a facility where people want to go, and 3 blocks away, and can't find a parking space. She was in a wheelchair, by the way, and he was in good shape, and was able, from my place, to go all the way down there and eat and come back. But I don't see any reason, and I've been keeping an eye on this place during the rest of the week since that event. There's room for handicap parking there. This gentleman has a leasehold not only on La Dosha Vita, but also the property next door. And there is room in the back for making available some handicap parking space. I guess what my request is here tonight, that as a condition of a license, that this restaurant be required to install and maintain a handicapped accessible parking space, at least one. Okay?
Thank you for your request.
Okay, and then the other one, resolution that I have a question on here has to do with the property. It's titled Resolution Approving Borough of Belmar Entering into a Natural Resource Damages Settlement. And if you read the resolution, you'll see that it references a 1990 administrative consent order that your predecessors had entered into back in 1990. This goes back to Maria Hernandez. I also took a look at the state website. This is a hazardous waste site. It was a manufactured gas plant operation that went on there. In brief, what happened, or what they did back then, the railroad delivered coal. Coal was cooked in closed vessel, and the gas was put into pipes and into the streets and illuminated the streets and houses. It was the beginning of the industrial revolution in the United States. These things were important. In fact, we probably, if these things didn't exist, we would probably be speaking German now. I guess what I find somewhat amazing is that since 1990, apparently nothing's been accomplished. This property is as it was in 1990. There's been no attempt to remediate or clean the property. Actually, I don't think this is, in as much as this council has not had any discussion about this property, except perhaps for potential use as a skating rink. In 25 years, this is not routine business. The consent agenda is supposed to be routine business. This is management of assets. This property has been a sleeping dog, and I guess what I'd like to know is, what plans, or what is the goal of the municipality regarding this property?
I would say our plans are to leave it as is.
And make no attempt to have the responsible parties clean the property so that we could have full enjoyment of the property, or at least better use of the property?
If I could point out, this doesn't relieve any of the cleanup responsibilities. JCP&L is still be obligated to continue with their cleanup, and all of the obligations contained in that consent order will continue. What it does do, though, it protects Belmar from any further lawsuits against or by any other property owners, business owners, or anything of that nature. So, although, and this settlement has been going on for, as you correctly said, for many years. And so the settlement has been discussed, and it's in my legal opinion that they move forward with it. It doesn't change any of the cleanup obligations. It is merely an attempt by GCP&L to include or encompass a bunch of other defendants.
Yeah, I guess one of the things that I have a problem with what's in front of the mayor and council tonight is that not all the players are identified here. The resolution mentions the borough of Belmar and JCP&L. However, New Jersey Natural Gas is also listed as a responsible party here, and also has a mechanism for financing, or raising funds to finance the cleanup of the property. I don't think this is something just to sit on for another 25 years.
Well, it's not something that we can sit on, because if we don't partake in it, we expose the borough to certain risks and damages.
The borough has not been identified as a responsible party, sir.
That's correct, not yet. And what we have done over the past at least 3 to 4 months, as you correctly identified, we went back to our council, Mayor Doherty's predecessor, in terms of that legal counsel, got a copy of the settlement, asked the questions, did the due diligence, because this has been going on now for the last at least 3 months, discussing the settlement and discussing what risks the borough would be exposed to should we not partake in it.
You don't think that the borough would be a beneficiary of a natural resource damages lawsuit? We should be the beneficiary, not the defendant here.
No, that's the whole point, Gene. We would be the defendant. If we do this tonight, we protect ourselves. If we don't do this tonight, then we are at risk.
Excuse me, sir. The borough, to the best of my knowledge, has never, is not an identified responsible party. Yes, we may own the property. Anyhow, I guess what I would encourage mayor and council to do here is to pursue this more actively instead of letting this sleeping dog lie for another 25 years. Borough of Long Branch has moved forward and has engaged and has gotten New Jersey Natural Gas to at least start remediation and cleanup of their manufactured gas plant site. I worked on 43 manufactured gas plant sites in the state of New Jersey, and all of them have demonstrated where there has been at least progress, if not completely remediated. All of them have advanced. This has been a sleeping dog for 25 years, and I think what we need here is some sort of motivation to get New Jersey Natural Gas, make the necessary contacts here to improve the environmental condition of the property that the borough owns. Period.
If I could just clarify, I would really, will not have the impression that remediation is not going on there. JCP&L is on site. There is constant remediation going on, evaluation, monitoring. The cap was improved in the last 6 months. So there's a great deal of attention and care being given to the site.
Thank you. Any comments, questions on the resolution calendar? Yes, sir.
Mike Cedar, 110 Second Avenue, Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm just
in tonight to express my concerns about some ordinances on our own resolution calendar regarding the renewal of liquor licenses. There's a specific item, I don't stand in objection to any renewals being issued. What I'm concerned about is, I brought this item to the council's attention once before, and perhaps it was overlooked, but it still remains a concern of mine. In the resolutions, we specify that in 2 of the 3, that the staff, wait staff, bartenders, and personnel involved in the sale or service of alcohol shall attend an in-service seminar concerning their duties and responsibilities. Said seminar shall be scheduled and conducted by the Belmar Police Department. At the time I brought this up the first time, it was after a traffic accident that occurred in our borough right around Easter, where a person was ejected, and it was an alcohol-related issue. So, by extension, my concern is, are we conducting these seminars? Are we qualified to conduct these seminars? Should we be conducting these seminars? And if so, lastly, only 2 of the 3 establishments this evening have this requirement written into their ordinance requirements. And at the very least, if the mayor and council deem this to be something we should continue to do and appropriate, it should be applied universally to all 3 for consistency. And the second goes to language that occurs in 2 out of the 3 regarding requirements that the employees attend a techniques in alcohol management, a TAM course, I guess it is, and that's provided through the New Jersey Beverage License Association certification, excuse me. And that does sound like a good requirement also. It's something that, you know, we're requiring as a borough, that the operators of these establishments get their employees properly trained and certified. And again, it only appears in 2 of the 3 renewals, and I think that that should be language that it appears in all 3, if the mayor and council agree that that should remain in the ordinances. Because it is in 2, it's not in the 3rd. And the one it's in 3rd of is one for 10th Avenue Burrito. The language is missing from that ordinance. And again, it's not an objection to any of the renewals being approved. It's just I would love to see consistency in our language. And I'd also love to see our involvement in, shall we say, the management and potential liability be clearly defined and again applied universally. Thank you very much.
Yes.
David Stein, 302C3. First of all, I want to mention to Brian that I used to really like when I would be driving near the lake and you would be out there with Cam, and I always try to entice Cam into racing me down North Lake Drive, not going any faster than 25. And he used to beat you then. Yeah, if you have to obey the speed limit, he would beat me more often than not. So that was always a lot of fun. The resolution designating the dates for closing the beachfront, paragraph 8 stipulates that the town can designate certain areas that are partitioned off, that are going to be closed to the general public and just used for special events. That's something new, right? We never had that before, did we?
Yeah, it's consistent.
That's a bit in the code.
When we do our Military Appreciation Day,
Yeah.
we close off a section.
Well, we have a separate resolution for that, right?
No, we do, but this actually just puts it in there that there are certain sections of the beach that we're able to do that.
So is that aside from the Military Appreciation Day, what other types of events do you anticipate calling that, ordinance into effect?
That's just one that comes to my hand.
So nothing else specific that,
We have an employee appreciation party.
We have an employee appreciation party. There's going to be other ones, I'm
Like
sure.
that.
That's one that comes.
right? Okay, and that's actually, this resolution opposing the Six Flags Solar Farm project. Is that you, Tom?
You suggested it?
Yeah.
Who suggested it?
Me.
Brian?
Me.
Really?
Shade Tree Commission.
Oh, okay, sorry. Sounded like one of your pet projects. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Brian?
Brendan Reed, 109th Avenue. What are those three resolutions? First is on the Complete Streets program, which is excellent. I understand that about $2 billion going to be made available. I'm not sure if I heard the correct amount. And I was wondering if whether or not making our New Jersey Transit Station accessible would be eligible in that program. I wonder if that could be looked into and.
You make it ADA accessible?
Yeah, making it ADA accessible. Great, thank you. Second, as a heartfelt thanks from my wife and myself for your resolution providing beach access to the first responders. Our son is one. He still does tours in addition to running EMS for JFK Hospital in Edison. The stress these fine people are under in being there when we need them is immense. A first responder is never off duty. The beach passes, I can tell you, are appreciated and used. Last year, we told our son about this. He put it up on Facebook. And as a result, many of his team came to Belmar and had a great time. So hoping this year that our son and his family will come to the beach. A third about the Six Flags resolution. The Six Flags Solar Farm project strikes me as greenwash. Six Flags is going to destroy land containing trees and wildlife habitat for a green energy project. Especially when NJ Transit is also planning to eliminate buses from Freehold and Philly to the park, which will lead to, guess what? More cars, dangerous emissions, and yes, more demand for parking. And defeats the green value of the solar farm, doesn't it? I'd like to make a suggestion for this resolution. How about adding to the resolution that the borough also urges Six Flags to find a way to expand transit usage to also help meet its stated green goals while freeing up parking for solar panels. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Joy DeSantis, 101 6th Avenue. I have a quick question on this resolution awarding an agreement for a farmers market manager. Did the farmers market ever have a manager before?
We always had
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce would do it. They're kind of the fund now.
They're the funds.
Don't exist. We did an RFP for a farmers market. One person replied, and he's going to be the manager.
And I wasn't quite clear when I read the resolution. It said that the town would get 5% of the costs, or the manager would get 5% of the costs?
You want to explain that?
The town would get 5%.
Did we always get 5%, or didn't we just get all of the costs?
We got zero.
We didn't get anything?
No, remember the Chamber of Commerce would do it. We would just allow them to use the space. Now we're actually going to make money off it.
So we're going to make money off of it. Okay, great, thank you.
See other comments, questions? I'll make a motion to close the public portion of the resolution calendar.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, so.
Councilman McGovern, I think would like to make a motion about item on the agenda.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to pull the resolution on the Six Flags solar farm, so I could read it and if we could vote on it specifically.
And not on the consent, so pull it off the consent agenda.
Correct.
I will second his motion.
All in favor?
Aye. So let's take that one off, and we'll do that first, and this consent agenda second. So, Councilman.
Okay, as member of the Shade Tree Commission, I've really been following this project at Six Flags, and generally I don't like to mind other people's business, but in this case I just want to express that I don't think they're going in the right direction. And so I'd just like to read this. Obviously it's a non-binding resolution on Six Flags. The resolution of the Borough of Belmar, Mayor and Council to oppose the Six Flags Solar Farm project. Whereas Six Flags Theme Park
is proposing to construct a 90-acre solar farm in Jackson Township that would require the clear cutting and removal of 18,000 trees on 134 acres of land. Whereas the proposed site for the project is on the northern border of the Pinelands National Reserve, across the street from the Colliers Mills Wildlife Management Area, and contains the same ecosystem and habitat quality. Whereas the proposed site is the headwaters of the Toms River, an important tributary to the Barnegat Bay, and development of the site could impact the health of these waterways. 2 Category 1 streams on site feed into Toms River and are protected under an anti-degradation standard in New Jersey. Whereas the proposed location serves as an important wildlife corridor between the Toms River and Crosswick Creek's watersheds, the site is home to habitat for state-protected species, including the barred owl and the northern pine snake. Development of the project would permanently remove their habitat. Whereas alternative locations for the solar project exist and should be explored further. The Six Flags Great Adventure theme park has various parking lots, disturbed areas and fields, warehouse-type structures, and maintenance buildings and shading areas for lines that could be used for the solar development rather than an ecologically sensitive forest. Whereas the Jackson Township Planning Board has already approved the project as a conditional use in the conservation zone with little public notice or solicitation of political comment. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the mayor and council of the Borough of Belmar and the County of Monmouth, the following recitals are incorporated as of May 5th, 2015. 1. Our council opposes the proposed solar development at Six Flags Great Adventure Theme Park. 2. The council calls on Six Flags Theme Park Incorporated to pursue alternative locations for their solar project. 3. The council urges the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection to review the project for potential impacts to protected state resources, specifically threatened non-game species and headwaters of C1 waterways. 4, the council urges the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities to reconsider their approval of the proposed project in the current location and to require that the solar development be moved to a more appropriate site. The council directs the municipal clerk to forward copies of this resolution to the offered and the above offered, and the resolution moved for its adoption. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Keeler Blackford?
I fly over that area quite a bit, and it's great to see the trees. I'm certainly for solar, but I think there are other areas that they should look into rather than cutting down what they've got now. So, yes.
Councilwoman Governor?
You know, they're saying 18,000 trees. It's not just a tree. They're homes. I don't know how many animals, thousands of animals, which these trees are their homes, are going to be impacted by cutting them all down. You know, we can't just say those acres are just for humans and for human solar. I mean, there's other alternatives, and I bet you technology development in the next 10 years is going to show that you don't need 90 acres of property for solar. Solar is going to be so improved in the next couple of years, they should wait for science and development for this project. Cutting down the 18,000 trees for our own use, for human use, I think is wrong. So I vote, I don't like the project, yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Okay. This is a really difficult issue for, most of you know I'm very committed environmentalist. I think this is one of those cases where you have to see the big picture. When I first heard about the project, I felt very much the way Brian and Janice expressed their feelings. But the more I looked at it, you know, honestly, the number one climate issue that we face today is climate change, and that's directly driven by the use of fossil fuels. It seems to me that the people that are putting this project together have really they've done everything they can to be sensitive to the environmental concerns. They're not going to put this in those areas where the endangered species habitate. They're going to replant trees. Basically, I guess it just boils down to the idea, to me, it seems, it's really a difficult trade-off. It's really a difficult trade-off. But I find myself thinking you can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. We have to do something to cut down on our use of fossil fuels. And it seems to me that the people at Six Flags have tried, they made it clear that if they could use the parking lot, they would. It's not going to work for them. They have economic concerns that they have to be responsible for. They have to acknowledge and work within that framework. So they've done what I think they've made the best of a tough situation for. Yeah, I'm sure they knew that they were going to get this kind of kickback. I'm pretty much in lockstep with the Sierra Club, but in this case, I find myself thinking that they're being short-sighted. You know, you can plant more trees. It's a lot harder to lower the ocean because the climate has changed so much that we've melted the ice caps, and that's happening right now. I don't care what anybody else says. That's happening right now, and we have to do whatever we can about it. It's the number one concern I have for the environment, so I have to vote no.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
I just have visions of Tom Brennan with like chainsaw, you know, just going down there, hacking down the trees, watching little birds falling down. Yeah, I think it's obscene when he's right. I don't guess. Oh, yeah, so motion to approve the consent agenda.
Councilwoman Field Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman Butler?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Garrett?
Yes. Next are ordinances. Ordinance 2015-16, second reading, public hearing. Ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 19 of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of Belmar, section 19-46, handicap parking spaces. Any comments, questions on this ordinance? Now, public hearing. Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll offer and move for adoption, ordinance 2015-16.
Second.
Councilwoman Field Blackburn? Yes. Councilman Butler?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Garrett?
Yes, next ordinance 2015-17, second reading, public hearing, calendar year 2015, model ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriations limits and to establish a cap bank. This is on for public hearing. Any public comment, question on this? Please raise your hand when you come to the microphone. State your name, address for the record, and tell us your thoughts. Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, I'll offer and move for adoption, ordinance 2015-17.
Second?
Councilwoman Field Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman Butler?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Garrett?
Yes. Next ordinance 2015-18, first reading introduction. Ordinance of the Borough of Belmar establishing an energy and natural gas aggregation program. If you recall, this was presented to us by Mazer, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago. The Mazer employee tried to take the microphone with them. So this is on for first reading. I'll offer first reading.
Second.
Second.
Councilman Field Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman Butler?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Garrett?
Yes. 2015-19, ordinance amending chapter 40, development regulations, signs, revised general ordinances of the Borough of Belmar. Offer for first reading and
Councilwoman Keeler Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolai?
Yes.
Mayor Darrell?
Yes. Next ordinance, 2015-20, ordinance amending supplementing chapter 19, generalized ordinance of the Borough of Belmar, handicap parking spaces. I will offer for first reading.
Second.
Councilwoman Keeler Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolai?
Yes.
Mayor Darrell?
Yes. Next is ordinance 2015-21, ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 27, alcoholic beverage control of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Belmar and the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, section 17-7.8 BYOB, which is also known as bring your own baby. Bring your own booze. I'll offer for first reading. Just to give a little back history to the council. We have a business owner who wants to open a paint and sip where you go, you paint a picture, you sip wine. However, right now it's actually prohibited under our ordinances. You can only do BYOB in a place that has a dining room. So this would allow art galleries to also offer BYOB.
Very popular. Very nice. Very, very popular. Now I'm gonna go over and make some like that. Mom.
Councilwoman Keeler Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolai?
Yes.
Mayor Darrell?
Yes. Chopped liver.
We quit by all means.
Just end it right at Jeff. That wasn't planned.
I think the delay was for after 6.
Tom's the one who makes trees, not me. That concludes our resolutions ordinance. Next is public session. Very simple, raise your hand. When you be called on, come up to the microphone, say your name and address for record. You have 5 minutes. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Claire Dyke, 1017 14th Avenue. I would like to go on the record to thank Doctors Hannipol and Siskak for their dentistry from the heart. As a dentist's daughter, I'm very interested in teeth. My father did a lot of charity work, but not with great number of people. He did it one-on-one, so I know he was smiling down that day, watching the good dentists do work on a charity basis. So I have great appreciation for that. Also, I want to thank the borough, Colleen, Mike Campbell, and everyone else involved in helping us get the Paint the Town pink off the ground. The town looks wonderful, Borough Hall looks beautiful. I anticipate great numbers of people coming out tomorrow night for our In the Pink program. It should be interesting, informative, and fun. So please come out and support this great event. Special thanks to you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, former council president. Yes. Handsome looking Greek guy, for sure.
It's from the teeth. I volunteered that day.
Oh, yeah, he's got dentistry from the heart.
George Comatas on 11th, 3rd Avenue. I've known Mr. McGovern for a long time. His daughter's worked for me. Colleen didn't really like being a waitress, but Megan did good. She paid off college.
She used to sing It's Closing Time right at the beginning of the morning.
Megan was an unbelievable worker. Cam, I miss Cam a lot. He was a lot of fun. But I don't know if people know Al Foster. He was a professor at Brookdale. I had him in like 1977 for sociology. And lately I've taken him in the air because the man's having a little difficulty with his health. And I remember discussing one time about when humans finally started burying their loved ones because they meant something, and it would have been wasn't like a king probably, we figured. It wasn't a big warrior, but it had to be somebody with compassion, somebody who took care of their loved ones. They started burying them with flowers and mementos, and it would have been somebody like your wife.
Thank you very much, George.
Any other comments, questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure if you already are aware of the problem or not, so feel free to interrupt me. When the pipeline was done from Silver Lake to the inlet, the paving job that was done, They never lowered the previous level, so by adding more asphalt, it partially covered many of the in-the-curb drain holes that serve downspouts as well as sump pumps. Are you aware of that yet?
No.
No, okay. It's not just my property, it's.
201 you said?
Correct, but it also involves my neighbors as well.
That's the condo.
Yes, correct. And single-family home right across the street, same problem, next door, same thing. So the day after the pavement job was done, I didn't know who to call, so I called.
This is on, just, it's on
A Street.
A Street between 3rd and 4th?
That's where I'm located, correct.
Okay.
I'm on the corner, on the southwest corner of 3rd and A.
Right.
So the next day, I didn't know who to call, so I called the Department of Public Works, and a wonderful gentleman I spoke with said they were compiling a list for the folks that did the job to, kind of like a punch list, if you will. So he took my name, number, address, the problem, and I expressed to him the concern was that since the water wouldn't be able to fully come out, we were going to have retained water in the pipes, this is going to cause problems. And at the time it was October, the concern was in this winter, will that retained water freeze, cause damage to the pipes, and any other unforeseeable issues. So several weeks had passed, didn't hear anything, called, followed up. He checked and confirmed that they were making progress down the list, they didn't forget anybody. Several weeks passed again, and early January, I got a call, and he said someone had been there, they took care of the issue. So I thought, great, when I got home, I looked, and what they had done, they basically dug out a little asphalt immediately in front of the drain hole, so if you could imagine a little divot in the asphalt. Initially, I had some concerns that the same problem would exist, but by then it wasn't raining, it was snowing, as you know, it was a difficult winter. So when we eventually did get rain a few months after that, it did confirm that the problem wasn't fixed, but unfortunately it also created an additional problem, or it contributed worse. When it's raining and you get the water running against the curb line, now it has momentum going into the divot and literally throws water back into the pipe, along with anything in the street, debris from miscellaneous garbage, leaves, pine needles, you name it. So my purpose in coming here is one, you all should know this problem exists. I'll be happy to continue to follow up with Public Works or whomever I should, but that's the other question, is who do I follow up with? And I'm going to be very hopeful we can find a solution for this problem. Obviously,
How many drains do you think there are?
for my property alone, we have 6. I know across the street has a couple, and that's
Yours
only
is 6.
correct. And again, for us, it's a few sump pumps as well as a couple downspouts. We thought, well, gee, can we do something, you know, with the gutters at least to drain it on the lawn, but we have such short property, the sidewalks would be at risk of icing. You know, we don't know what to do. And we had the front end by A Street of the drains cleaned out, and I thought maybe the debris would just go several inches in. It actually went in a number of feet. So it's going to be a recurring problem. The other thing I can tell you, and if I need to show whomever's doing the project a photo, I certainly have one, the concern of will this freeze and cause pipe damage. I don't know if the damage occurred to the pipes, you'd have to throw a camera in and scope it, but I can show you for a fact and show you the photo. The ice did go the full dimensions of the pipe, all the way to the top when it did freeze this winter. So it's a real problem that myself and my neighbors are going to be facing, and I truly hope we can get somewhere. Who do I follow up with, or how do I?
Well, if you leave your info with Colleen.
Would be me. So
Okay.
if you could have,
But thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah,
don't think anyone
I
can come.
appreciate whatever we can get done. It's a
No,
definite problem.
and that's why we have public sessions, so that people
Thank y'all.
can come and tell us the truth. So, thank you.
And if I could just add on a personal note, unrelated, Councilman, I never got to meet your wife. I heard from a couple of folks how wonderful she was. I'm terribly sorry for your loss. And as you know, I told you many times, I used to love watching your dog work. It was just brought joy to my day every time I saw it. And he was always great in giving my dog the space she needed. So I'm very sorry for your loss.
Gave every dog space. He didn't want to be around other
If
dogs.
other dogs did that, I'd be sad.
Yeah.
So I'm very sorry for your losses.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Brennan?
Brendan Green, 109 Avenue. Your Ordinance Council, I'd like to ask you and the Borough Council to consider and pass an ordinance to raise the age of sale and use of tobacco products, including vapes, from 19 to 21. I will not recount the data about the harm of tobacco and smoking. That's been established. But consider, 90% of those who become addicted do so before the age of 18, according to the U.S. Surgeon General. Nicotine, a key substance, was described to me in a newspaper interview by a former U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. C. Everett Koop, as being, quote, more addictive than heroin, end quote. Now, much progress has been made since the first Surgeon General's report over 50 years ago was smoking, but the Surgeon General's office today describes it as an epidemic. States the Surgeon General, today more than 600,000 middle school students and 3 million high school students smoke cigarettes. Figures can be double checked. The rates of decline for cigarette smoking have slowed over the past decade, and the rates of decline for smokeless tobacco use have stalled completely. Now, we as a society have decided to establish minimum ages for the use of harmful substances. We believe that individuals must reach a certain level of maturity to understand the harm to themselves and to others before being allowed to make those choices. We have not hesitated to increase the age when we find they have not shown that judgment. This led us to hike the minimum age for alcohol from 19 to 21. We found out that 19 to 20-year-olds were more likely to supply alcohol to those who were under 19 than those who were older, simply because they share the same peer groups. The same factor is at work with smoking. While it was the federal government that prompted states to raise the drinking ages, in New Jersey has determined smoking as a home rule issue. For that matter, so far, Englewood, Sayreville, and now Princeton have enacted these ordinances. Belmar is a public health leader through our wellness committee, health fairs, the Pink campaign, and by banning smoking on the beachfront. In that spirit, and given the urgency of this issue, could you consider and pass an ordinance raising the age of sale to 21, following Englewood, Princeton, and Sayreville leads and models adapted to Belmar? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you want to stay for a minute, right, because we have some follow-up questions for you. Mike DuPont is actually the borough attorney in Sayreville.
Yes.
Were you the attorney when they passed what Brennan was talking about?
Yes.
And what were their thoughts on it at the time?
There were some.
Because Sayreville's obviously a much bigger town than us.
Right. First, you had some pushback from some of the business owners, because it does account for a fair amount of their business. The other was, hey, listen, 18-year-olds can enlist in the Army, they can fight for our country. There was many veterans who voiced opposition, saying, there's a very, very large veteran population in Sayreville. So there was opposition from that point, is that we can fight for our country, but we can't have a cigarette or a cigar. I think it carried the day because of the health concerns.
Yeah, well, the same issue you could say about alcohol, when they raised the drinking age from 18 to 21.
I'm not taking sides on the arguments. I'm just
Well, that's what I was just asking. But Brendan, what would you think if maybe we had the attorney get a hold of Sayreville again? Did you write it?
Yeah.
Right. He knows the stuff pretty well. And maybe we can take a look at it at a workshop and have you back.
I'll have the April calls Marion next week. She'll email you the ordinance and you can circulate it, see what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah, well, I want to commend your work on that, because I know also there were concerns in Sayreville and in other communities about, okay, what about going over to the next town? We're going to have the same concerns here, there's some concerns that they're going to go, teenagers are going to go to Como.
There is a control aspect of it. There is an enforcement issue. So just go, 500 feet to the town next door.
Right. We're on the case,
But I think it's more of a message, saying that, that Belmar's taking, as you rightfully so, and the mayor's led by example, doing Zumba, the need for health importance.
Why is that fun?
I watched you.
But again, I think it's more of a message that Belmar thinks that these types of activities are harmful.
Great, and thank you for your work on that.
And also, we just spoken on the beachfront anyway.
I think it's just a carryover. I mean, it's something that I would recommend. You guys sit on the days.
Well, I appreciate you bringing it. I mean, I never thought about it. But it's definitely an interesting idea. Maybe something we'll identify the right issue. Take a look at it and see what you think. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you. Sandy Caputo, 1705 Surf Avenue.
Maybe I don't remember right, but I thought when we saw the first presentation about the aggregation, we were talking about electric. Now it's electric and gas.
Well, if you've got,
On the-
allows us to go up for prices on it.
Yeah, I think it's only gonna be electric.
This is
Because
not.
now
This
we're
allows-
writing it up and it says gas all over
This
this
allows us
now
to do,
too.
this allows us to do both.
Would Mazer be doing the gas too?
Yeah, they do the whole thing.
So they're gonna make money on both?
Well, right now,
The
we're only
electric
looking-
and the gas.
We're only looking at electric. Instead of doing
It
two
says gas
different.
all over this.
No, I know that. It's just- Instead of doing two different ordinances, we just put it into one. They're gonna go out to the electric market and see what prices are out there. You know, they may look at the gas market, and if that saves us money, you know, we'll entertain that as well. This doesn't lock us in anything. All they're gonna do is go out, all this does is allow them to go out and look for prices. Let's say they look for prices and they're higher than we pay now. We don't do anything. We hope, right, and their expectation is that they'll find prices lower that'll reduce the cost for everyone in town without us doing anything. They do all the legwork and they get compensated for
Okay, thank you.
that. Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Joy DeSantis, 101 Sixth Avenue. I wanted to talk because I feel you're being unusually vague about JIF, which is the Joint Insurance Fund, for which we are a member of the Central Division. The insurance money that we received from JIF was because we had an excess policy with them. An excess policy is similar to an umbrella policy of insurance. It kind of covers generally a lot of different issues. It is not the same insurance that we had for the one pavilion for which we received $484,000. The other pavilions were not insured, we received no money, but we did have this excess policy. Every other municipality was paid 80% on the dollar. I'm unsure why Matt does not know whether we received this money or not. Because when I contacted JIF, they verified that the money was dispersed because many of the municipalities really needed to use that money to start their cleanup process. So maybe I misunderstood when you said you didn't know if we received our 80%, because it's just about that $800,000 figure that Robin mentioned in the budget was used to pay notes. So was that my misunderstanding?
I'm not sure how to answer your question. You said you contacted Jeff.
Yeah, I did a while back during the
They told
special.
you that we received the 80%.
They dispersed the 80% to all the municipalities that were part of the fund.
Okay, so they answered the question that you're asking right now.
They did, but I think maybe we didn't if you said we did. So I'm hoping that you know for sure and can clarify it.
I mean, I explained it to you before as best as I can. You don't understand all of that. I'm not going to be able to explain it to you again.
So we did or we did not, just for my own edification.
I explained it to you before as best as I can.
That's not an answer.
That's my answer.
I'm asking you a simple question. Did we receive our benefit
I
from
already gave you an answer
JIF?
to this question. I'm not going to answer the same question multiple times.
Okay, I'm sorry that you are not answering that question. Let me try another question. Was the $832,000 that you used to pay off a bond or a note from a JIF reimbursement?
Already answered that question.
Again, I see no reason why you're not answering again clearly if
I
I'm
answered the
telling
same
you.
question multiple times. No. If I want to ask a different question, I'll entertain that, but I'm not going to answer the same question multiple times.
Will you answer if we are receiving any further JIF reimbursements?
We already answered this.
I don't believe that we did.
I believe we did.
I will certainly check the video. I'm sorry that you're so vague about this. I don't think it's fair to people to be so misleading. we either receive the 80% reimbursement or we have not. It's a real simple question. You should be very forthright with it.
Already been answered.
Okay, thank you.
Check. Any other comments, questions? Entertaining? All right. I'll offer a motion to close the public portion and adjourn.